over to Facebook. Should be live. Confirmation we're live.
Yep, I see it.
And then you can hear me okay? Perfect. We've got 2 minutes before we start going, so we're just doing a little background testing, folks. If you are on right now, just want to make sure we've got this nailed down for you. So just bear with us. We've got 2 minutes. Not too much of a delay. At least I wore the appropriate hat for the occasion. Great. We should probably have somebody jump in on that next time. That way, you know. Smart guy.
Right.
What happens if I push this button? It goes on my camera. Can you see me now? Oh, okay. All right, market makers, it's 10:30 Thursday morning, and we're going to be doing script training practices each and every Thursday morning. We're going to go over top mistakes that agents make when calling an internet lead, as well as I'm going to work on some script practices, some training, some rebuttals, disarming questions, and as well as discovery. That way we can really dig deep with each and every lead and maximize the time that we have on the phone with our prospects. So first, let's go ahead and dig into the scripts. So where are you going to find those? Let's see here. I'm going to go right up to contacts. And by the way, good morning. Probably should introduce myself. My name is Roy Koyam. I'm a licensed realtor. I use the system, been using it since 2012, and I've worked in basically every role that you can imagine when it comes to real estate. So I definitely can help you out with the scripting, as I have worked in an ISA role as well. I've got Ed Young here helping me out, so if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment box, and then we will address those questions as we can, and if not, we can definitely meet up with you after the training session this morning. All right, so back on track. Where you will find your scripts in one spot will be right inside the lead profile. And what I'm going to do today is we're just going to get to the scripts and work on that. So right there, if you notice that, right next to the lead's name, right below that it says show script. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then you've got your selection of scripts. This one's on a FSBO script, but here we go. So you can do default buyer script, seller script, circle prospecting, expireds. I like those. Home value scripts and FSBOs. So if you're up for some challenges, you've got some awesome scripts, and you know, calling your specified campaign of leads. You definitely want to make sure you're using the right script, using the right tonality, as well as pace, matching and mirroring your prospects. So let's go ahead and just, well, it's already pulled up FSBO script. If you want to download it, just click right there. What it'll do, it's going to create a download. It'll give you a little marketing zip file, and then just unzip the file and excuse me, the script will be right there. Okay. You want to do your buyer script, just click on that, boom, there it is, little download button again. And you're just going to go through, and when you call them, this is what you're doing. Going right through these series of questions and answers, and really just walking down that path with the prospect. At the end of that path, of course, is an appointment, a face-to-face. That's what we're all striving for, is getting in front of people. Once we have a conversation, the next goal is to get in front of them. Okay. We have a circle prospecting script in here. So for you market makers out there that are using neighborhood data and want to, really create the market in your area, this is a great way to do it. Circle prospecting is a rock star way to keep your customer acquisition costs very low, because you are in essence cold calling. Okay. I am a fan of this if it's done correctly and methodically with purpose. Okay. So a couple of factors there to make sure that it's going to work right, but it does work. You've got your expired script. Now these are great scripts. You got people that their listing has expired, and now what you're wanting to do is reach out to them as the agent, but not wanting to sound like everybody else, right? Because they're going to get hammered. We all know that when somebody's house goes expired, that next day they're getting, say, a minimum of 10 to 30 phone calls, at least in my market. Okay. So if you're one of those aggressive agents, that's probably you on those phone calls as well. Funny thing is 1 year expireds are really good too. So if you'd like to talk more about that. Yeah, we're going to go over all of the scripts, Frank. I do appreciate the question. I'm just introducing everything one by one right now, and then I'm going to dig deep. So we've got a little bit of time here. All right. Back on the expired, it's a great way to get yourself on the phone with a homeowner that expressed interest in selling, but the listing expired because the previous agent wasn't able to get the job done. Okay. And we're not going to say things like that, speak badly about other agents, but it's kind of a given, right? That they didn't get the job done because the house is still on the market or expired. Okay. Home value script, click on that. Now your home value script, this is the one where a lot of you want to focus, your listing makers, your market makers, your pros and teams, whoever is receiving the home value leads. Okay. They're a different type of lead, and they definitely have a different approach to them. If you've been in the lead industry, or when you the real estate industry working these internet leads, home value leads are just a little bit different, so we want to really approach them with kid gloves, just like we are really just high level customer service with these folks. Because in sales, really, you are in customer service. You're servicing the client all the way to close, so that way you can get the fat commission check. So we might as well, fill those shoes as a high-level customer service agent as well, okay? And I'll go over that script with you so that way you can better understand how to approach these home value leads. If any of you on this training or who listens to this training would like to do some role playing, feel free to reach out to me at any time at the office. 417-313-0072. Again, that's Roy at 417-313-0072 for some role playing and script practice. Now, let's get to the next.
I want to interject right there. What I'd like.
You actually hit that one as a FISBO. I was just going down the line here. So,
can you hear me?
Basically, that's
Roy.
In a nutshell, where you're going to find your scripts, and that's in every single system, whether it be market maker, listing maker, pro, team, solo, whatever it is. I've got a question.
Sounds like Mike wants to.
Can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Just a second. Where's my headset? Thank you. Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, I can't hear him.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to jump in there on that. You still can't hear me? Yeah, but Roy can't. Anyway, what I'd like to do is I'd like to set this up so we do some live role playing with everybody on this particular training session every week, week in, week out. For team leaders, if they got agents that just joined their company, they'll be able to throw them on this. For agents who are new to the system, new to this style of prospecting, they'll be able to jump on here and role play with us. I think that's going to be a lot of fun and super high value for everybody. And it's one of the things that I'm super passionate about. Roy, if you still can't hear me, I can just jump into that room over there with you. We can kind of squeeze in to the frame. I'm kind of waiting on him, but as he's trying to figure this out, what I want to say, the one that I want to go over the most, really is the seller callback script and the buyer callback script. What I like to do is I like to have these suckers printed out and sitting right next to me. And even after doing this for over a decade and making these calls, mostly because I was better at it than anybody and it was fun, even when I had half a dozen people in my organization making these calls. Okay, I'll jump in there with him. I would
It stopped broadcasting.
There we go. I would still keep the script next to me was what I was saying. Can you hear me now, Roy?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had a technical difficulty.
Okay. Fair enough. What I was going over was the buyer callback script and the seller callback script. And what I said is I want to make sure that we invite everybody to this to be able to have them role play with us in real time on a consistent weekly basis. I want to hear the challenges, the objections that people are having in real time so we can help them through them. And this will be high value, like I was saying, for team leaders who have agents join their team. They can just send them to jump on, our Thursday script training, get them scripted up well. And for new agents who are just new to the platform or new to really online leads, or just direct response, the type of leads, the method of attract in general, this will be helpful for them as well. And so, what I had specifically said was when I had half a dozen people making these calls for me, I would still sit in the evening, 2-3 nights a week until 9 o'clock and call with them and get some pizza, sometimes some beer, and just knock the calls out. Because it's fun, and when you're really good at it, it's kind of addicting. And so my point was I would print the scripts out, and there's two scripts that I want you guys to focus on mainly in this call because I don't want to dive into expired FSBOs, circle prospecting script. I want to dive into these because most of you are utilizing our pay-per-click marketing, and if you're not, you should strongly consider it because it's kind of done for you on autopilot. You order up the traffic that you want, and we deliver it. Type of system, and so you're going to get leads, and then the next thing is you're going to have to know what to say to these leads. So the first time I did this, and I don't want to hijack the call, Roy, but I want to make sure that I drive the point home. The first time I did this, I listened to the instructions from a company not unlike this. Granted, it was like 2001, so it was like AOL era, and they told me to run an ad in the local newspaper that said, free list of bank foreclosures, visit yourcityforeclosures.com. And so I put like ozarkforeclosures.com. And I ran the ad and I came in the following Monday. So I ran it on a Friday, ran over the weekend. It cost me $25. I literally put it in the classified ads with no phone number. And I had like 30 some odd leads. And I called the company. I said, well, now what? I said, I don't even have any foreclosures, right? I don't even know how to find them on my MLS. How do I turn these people into customers? And some of them are even agents, which I thought was hilarious. They said, well, what you want to do is you want to get a face-to-face appointment with them. So when you call them, you want to dive into their criteria, you want to establish their motivation and timing, and then you want to set up a face-to-face appointment for them at your office. And the goal being to find their criteria. And if there's foreclosures in that criteria, then you've completed the job. There might not be foreclosures in every criteria. You're not saying that every price range is a foreclosure. I was like, all right. So I didn't call those leads. I was scared. I had phone fear, right? Straight out of the gate. But I was on, I was on a showing and I used the portion of the script, which on ours it says setting a buyer appointment, which we would call the call to action or the cheese, to a guy in real life. I said, hey, would you like to come back to my office and I can get you a free list of all homes that match what you're looking for? The list includes any short sales, bank foreclosures, distress sales. It's free. There's no obligation. And my goal is to get you, a list of all the best deals available in the market. Does that sound helpful? And he was like, yeah, let's go right now. And like my jaw almost dropped. I was like, holy shit, that worked. I've been saying it ever since. So, with all that being said, let's start with the seller callback script. And let's just talk about some of the things that are on there. And let's talk about the reasons why they're on there. I think if you understand the reasons, you'll have a lot better understanding of the script, and you won't have that phone fear because you don't have to say, it's not like a play where they know the line and you're going to mess it up, right? They've never seen this play before, so they don't know if you miss a sentence. They don't know if you ask a question wrong. So you shouldn't have any fear over that. What would you say is the first primary goal of the initial intro of the seller script, Roy?
Well, just the introduction, and to kind of piggyback on what you just said, though, Mike. I actually used to have that call reluctance, because I had that story that I was believing in my head, that the people didn't want to talk to me, that they were just going to it was almost like a fear-based type of call. And then when I realized that I'm really just helping them, it actually made it really easy for me to call these folks. And that's what I think is the initial message to convey to these folks is, hey, I'm just here to help,
And speaking to that, let's talk about the mindset of that real quick. If somebody calls you on your phone and you're a real estate agent and they leave you a voicemail, you're not afraid to call them back, right? Like that's the disconnect. And all the agents that I've ever trained on
Yep.
direct response marketing in script training, the disconnect is, well, they didn't actually call me. They reached out via my website or an email, and I just always treat that the exact same. So hey, this is Mike. You reached out. I'm getting back with you. Oh, Mike who? Oh, Mike Otto Real Estate Team, right? Or whatever company I was with at the time. And let's go over the first sentence. So it's hello is first name there, right? So it's really important that you say first name only. You don't say, hi, can I please speak with Roy Koyama, right? Hi, is
Or
Roy there?
Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Odo
Koyama,
there.
right? Yeah. So is the first name there, right? So you sound like a friend. So that's important, and there's a reason why it just says first name. Uh, Hi, first name. This is your name with company name. Now you can put that however you want, but hey, Roy, this is Mike with Mike Odo Real Estate Team. The reason for my call is I received your request for a home evaluation. And I'm just getting back with you on that. Are you looking to move in the next 3 to 6 months? And then close
Yes,
and stay
yeah.
closed. Yeah, just pause and let there be a little bit of awkward silence. I think a lot of times that
It
nervous
made me want to
energy,
just answer.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you pause,
Yeah.
people are like, oh, am I supposed to respond? Yes, I asked you a question, right?
That's-
And so here's the funny
yeah.
thing about that question. They're gonna answer, but the truth is they're gonna give you probably a BS answer because you're still catching them a little bit off guard. Now, there's a lot of people who teach that you'll want to create a little bit more of a relationship with the prospect first before you start diving into these self-serving questions. For me, in real estate, like I started to say on yesterday's call, I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because when you're young with braces, literally 20 years old, people take a lot of advantage of you, driving them around, wasting your time. And so I was pretty brutal with the script. And my main goal was to get them to identify themselves as a winner or a loser and get on to the next one. Even the good prospects that were like, high price range house, I would still get on and get off because I have an hour that I've carved out of my day. I schedule it like a listing appointment, and this is my time to make these calls, right? Every day. It didn't
Yeah.
matter what the day brought, and if I had to miss it for some reason, I better make 2 hours the next day. A side note
That's
there,
a good approach, Mike. Yeah.
yeah, well, you were talking about time blocking yesterday, and I just think it's important. You just
I,
schedule it like a listing or a showing appointment in your calendar. I've got an hour every day. Side note there, two things. One, if you're going to make calls, you're going to fill a pipeline up of people who you have um, basically communicated with their permission that you're going to call them back. And so that's called follow-up business. And you should always hit your follow-up business first because before you go out and try to prospect new business, if you're not taking care of the business that you've already created, you got things backwards. So I would always make, the scheduled follow-up calls first, then dive into the new leads that I have.
Can I chime in on that real quick? Because
Please.
you had taught me that a long time ago of follow-up business first and then getting new business later. And guys, I mean, you've got opportunities to learn from some great brokers and masterminds, and it works actually. I do my follow-ups in the morning, and funny thing is when I go to do my prospecting, like 9 o'clock or later, those folks have been beaten up by other agents in the morning, and they're just hanging up on them left and right, hanging up on them left and right. And then when I get to them, they're actually more receptive to talk to me, because I'm more relaxed and I'm not so coming at them like I'm like desperate, because I've talked to my follow-up people. I already know I have a pipeline of business.
Yeah, desperation definitely repels, but I think specifically you're talking about expireds in that scenario. Would that be accurate?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in the mornings I would call what was brought in like FISBOs, expireds, the whole gamut. I wasn't doing circle prospecting in the morning. That's the only
Okay.
thing I wasn't
Well,
doing.
what I want to speak to directly to anyone watching this or listening is really direct response leads and leads that we've generated for them, or leads that they've taken our instructions and generated for themselves, which would be an internet lead. And the
Right.
design is to get them early in their process. So you're not going to have a lot of agents
Oh, I
calling
see
these
what you're
people.
saying.
This isn't like
Right.
a
No, I
Zillow
got you.
lead, right? This is going to be somebody who is interested in finding out the value of their home for a few different reasons. Generally, either they're looking to sell, they're looking to find out their equity, they might be looking to refinance, which if you have a lender they love. I ended up starting a mortgage brokerage just because of this, because I had so many home evals that were refinancing all the time, and I kept sending the money down the street, and finally I was like, that's enough. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a really good process to generate seller leads, and it's a good process to get in front of the seller before anyone else does, which then allows you to do what we were talking about yesterday. Give them content that's specific and relevant to their situation, and really own the mind share of that particular person for your brand in your real estate practice when it comes time to sell. So it's a much more efficient approach than a shotgun approach. But we're not going into that right now. Let's go back into the script. So, are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months? They'll say, well, maybe. Who is this again? Right? Come on, give it back to me, Roy. Give me some of the objections that you've
How
gotten.
did you get my number?
Oh yeah, you would put it into to my website. You would ask for the address of 123 Main Street, and I'm just following back up with you. Are you looking for an in-depth evaluation on your home's value, or just kind of a rough estimate?
Back on
Right?
track.
So
Yeah.
questions control the conversation. Okay, and so if they ask you a question, you dang sure better follow it up with a question if you want to control the conversation. Otherwise, they're going to get you way off into left field. Right?
I,
How did
you,
you get my phone number? Huh?
What I call that, Mike, is the deep dark forest. And us as agents, we have this really narrow path that we're trying to drive our leads down through that forest, because at the end of that path is that face to face, and they're always trying to pull us out into the forest so that way we get lost. And just like you said, let them pull you into let them pull you a little bit, but then pivot back onto the path with your discovery question or your tie down question, open ended, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I call it leading them to their own conclusions. One of the reasons why I always liked wrestling in high school is because if I push somebody, they're going to push me back. So I know what they're going to do, and I'm making them do it, and they're not even conscious of it. So that's kind of how a script works with these leads, right? I'm going to make them do what they're naturally going to do, and by the time they figure it out, I'm going to be at their house, right? And they never usually figure it out. That's the irony. I've asked numerous buyers and sellers at the end of the transaction at the closing table, hey, do you remember how we met? And they'll say, man, no, I don't recall. They don't recall filling out a form, me calling them, going through this script. My in-laws that my sister's married to, their parents, when they moved into my market, I hit them over the head with the script. I couldn't get them. I couldn't convert them. But they still don't remember that call. The irony is I do. So because they were such tough ones, I usually don't lose. And I couldn't believe it. I had her all frazzled. And she was asking her husband for the appointment. They already had an agent they were working with. So I was trying to pry them away because they admitted they weren't obligated. They hadn't signed anything. Anyway, let's keep moving. So let's say they say rough estimate, right? Um, let's say they give you a vague answer. Let's go back. So are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months, Roy?
I'm not sure.
All right. Or are you looking for an in-depth valuation or just a rough estimate?
I don't know. I just I'm not really sure right now. I was just online, and I didn't even know anyone was going to call me back.
Oh, I can appreciate that. Well, if you were to move, when do you think that might be?
I don't know. I mean, uh, I just wasn't expecting anyone to call me back, but I mean, we have talked about, maybe this summer.
What's going on this summer? Something in particular, a life event, or
Just getting to maybe a different school district, changing up the drive time in the mornings, you know.
got it?
Yeah.
So maybe after the kids get out of school, type of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Very nice. So at this point, what I would do is not waste my time going out to this guy's house, right? Number one, he's wearing a hoodie, and so that would be that would be concerning.
Hey, man, I thought I was gonna be coaching today. I got my
Hey,
coach's hoodie on.
I got a pack of gum. Can you buy it? I'm joking. All right, so I would give him the rough estimate, and then I would schedule a follow up plan. So let's just run through that. All right, hey, that's cool. I can help you with really a rough estimate, Roy, so I can do the best job for you. Can you tell me, are you looking? Oh, well, we're hitting him with the next question. Are you looking for this info in order to consider selling in the near future? So these scripts have changed over time. The first thing that you're doing is you're hitting them with their timing and motivation. Those are the questions, right? You're introducing yourself. The reason for my call is blank. You're understanding their timing, right, and their motivation. How motivated are they to sell? So Roy's timing in this scenario is possibly this summer. His motivation is shaky. That's why I'm not going to waste my time going out there, right? And if you have an ISA or you are an ISA, you shouldn't waste your whichever agent you're setting this appointment for, their time in trying to set them to go out there. Even if your behavior compensation alignment is such that you get a spiff for appointments that you set that actually turn into a face to face, that's not going to be a good use of their time
Not good
if they have a
preparation.
high volume of lead generation. If they don't have nothing else to do, then hey, maybe going out and making a friend might be in their interest. But so that's the next question. Do you have an agent to help you when the time is right? I probably wouldn't ask that question at this point because I don't think that their motivation is such that they would, right? If they're further down the path and they're like, yeah, I'm looking to sell, in the next week or so, that would be a pertinent question. So I'd probably cross that out on this particular script. When you get closer to making a move, I'd like to drop by and give you an in-depth home evaluation so I can tell you what your home is worth. Also, while I'm there, give you in-depth information regarding how long it should take you to sell and give you some tips on what to do and what not to do to get the maximum amount of money for it. When would be a good time to follow up with you closer to when that's going to happen? So that's the cheese, and the cheese is bolstered with not just giving them an in-depth evaluation. It's also bolstered with giving them information regarding how long it should take to sell. So the timing and expectations. Give you some tips on what to do and what not to do to maximize the amount of money that they receive out of it. So there's multiple things you can layer in with extra cheese there, and you'll be surprised how many people. I mean, I've been out at a listing appointment and they're like, "Hey, you didn't give me the tips on how to get the most money out of it." I'm like, "Oh yeah, clean up your house and paint that room. See you later." Yeah, but like they remember it. That's the
Yeah.
crazy
Oh, they
thing,
probably
right?
had a note written down. Yeah.
Yeah. So my
Right.
game plan with Roy would be more along these lines, and unfortunately, the script doesn't necessarily say this. So we might work on the script a little bit and get you guys a little better a copy. Because if he says rough estimate and his timing is probably 6 months out, what I would say is, well, what I'd like to do, Roy, is go ahead and email you kind of an estimate on what I think the home might be worth. Keep in mind this is without seeing the property. It's going to be based on surrounding comparable sales. Also, I'd like to give you our monthly market watch, which is going to keep you up to date of all the homes that sell in your neighborhood, as well as homes that are for sale, so you can keep your finger on the pulse of the market. Does that sound helpful? Right? Roy would say generally yes. So now I got a little
Yeah.
micro commitment out of him. I'm making a promise to him, which is going to create a relationship if I deliver it. The good news is if you click the nurture button on the platform, or the market watch rather, I think it's called market watch. What's it called?
Yeah.
In-house
It's Market Watch. Yep.
newsletter.
Yep.
Okay, yeah,
Market update. Yeah.
market
Yeah.
update. That's it. Sorry, yeah, market watch was an old thing that we used to do back in the 90s. Anyway, early 2000s. The system will keep that promise for you, which is a wonderful thing. And then I would schedule the follow up call. Hey Roy, when do you think it would be a good time to give you a call back to follow up with you when you're getting closer to making that move, so that I can give you that in depth valuation, right?
Probably a week after the kids get out of school, man.
Okay, great. When is that?
Uh, End of May.
End of
May
May.
30th. Yeah, we'll call it May 30th. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so at this point, a couple of things that I could have done a better job of. I could have established a little more rapport. Could have asked him what school district, how many kids he has.
Hmm.
I would have plunked that into the notes. any information. Oh, I got a daughter, Holly, she's 13, and I got a son, Jim, and he's 12, or whatever the case may be. And then when I call him next, based on his permission at this point, because he's told me when to call him, I would say, "Hey, Roy, how's it going? Holly and Jim, get out of school for the summer? Oh yeah, 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 right." And so in his mind, he's like, man, this guy really cares about me, right? We're establishing a rapport, we're establishing a relationship, and from that point, I can have the same conversation, right? Hey, are you still looking to make that move? When's a good time for me to go ahead and drop out and give you that free home evaluation while I'm there? Yada yada yada. Does morning or afternoon work better for you, right? So if we would have went down that path, which would have been, an in-depth evaluation, let's just switch gears and say Roy said, I'm going to move this week, right? We're on our second call, or this is the first call. He's a little bit more hot of a prospect. We'd hit him with that pitch. Well, what I'd like to do, Roy, is drop by and give you an in-depth home evaluation so I can tell you exactly what your home is worth. Also, while I'm there, I can give you some information regarding how long it should take to sell, as well as give you any tips on what to do in order to get the maximum amount of money out of it. Again, it doesn't cost you anything or obligate you to anything. What would be a good time for me to stop by? Do you prefer morning or afternoon? And so we're hitting him with that multiple choice, which is kind of like that wrestling move, right? He's going to have to answer one. And then I'm going to hit him with another multiple choice. Well, would you prefer, today's Thursday, so would you prefer Friday or Saturday, right? Oh, well, how about Sunday, he might say, And I've got calls, tons and tons of calls recorded of this happening with me, with ISAs that were mine, things of that nature. And it just happens just like this. So at that point, the appointment would be set. I'd be coming to his house, and I would be armed with the benefits of doing business with me, the value of his home, comps in that area, any absorption rates for that market, right? Current homes listed. So, when I'm there, the natural next step would be to list the home with me. And it's really a lot of fun to do this in this way. Like I said, I wouldn't want to sell real estate any other way than attracting these people, setting appointments in this manner, and doing it on a consistent basis where I keep track of the numbers and I know what I have to do in order to get the income that I desire. And so it's the same for, if you're helping an agent on your team, and most team leaders already know this, but the script side is probably the biggest disconnect we see with agents who generate online leads. Some of the biggest mistakes that they make, like we were saying, is not treating it like it's any other kind of a way that they get a hold of them, whether it's a phone call or an email or a lead that comes through the internet. Roy, what are some of your thoughts on tonality, pace of speech, things of that nature that'd be helpful tips?
Yeah, sure. So I've done a little bit of training on DISC, personality profiling, and back in the past I've done some training on matching and mirroring, tonality. You introduced me to Chet Holmes, getting past the gatekeeper, things like that. But matching and mirroring is one thing that's really important. If you can identify what type of personality the person is, that'll help you too. So like, if I was calling Mike and I was talking to him, well, I'm going to figure out some way to possibly compliment him, because I know that he's a high I, and when I can compliment him and, stroke his ego, then he's going to like me a whole lot more. And then if I can act like that, then he's going to like me even more, because I don't have the face-to-face right now. And if I had the face-to-face, then I would be, matching and mirroring his body languages, doing all the things that he's doing, so that way he feels like I'm just like him. So I can't do that on the phone unless I'm matching and mirroring tonality as well as pacing him. So if I got on the phone and there was some granny and she's like, hello, I'm like, hey, granny, what's
Is
going
it
on?
me
La, la, la,
you're looking for?
boy,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And she's like, click, because you were just going too fast for me, young man, slow down. And
So
there,
specifically, sorry to interrupt, but what
you're
you're
okay.
saying is match the speed of their speech,
That's correct.
because a lot of times people who talk fast puts people who talk slow on a little bit of defense,
Makes them
because
feel, yeah, and it can make them feel less than too. Like, I can't understand you, but I don't want to say that because I don't want to seem like I'm not understanding you.
right, and people who talk fast, you think of a fast talker, somebody who might try to take advantage of it. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to
Mm-hmm.
listen and to kind of go in at a slower pace. And then if they're excited, speed it up.
Right, right. Active listening though is key. It's a key element on these because somebody could give you a buy-in sign and you could just fly right on by it, and then now you just missed your opportunity to actually set the face to face. And I've seen it time and time again where folks will actually talk themselves out of the opportunity, because they just talk to the lead or the prospect way too much, and now we're off in left field and we're not talking about real estate anymore. So just really being aware of my purpose for this call is to get a face to face, or set a nurture or vet the person out. So always have that in the frame of your mind. And when you do speak to the person, some of us are possibly guilty of just loving to hear the sound of our own voice, but really, I think the best thing to do is focus on your client. I use a Teddy Roosevelt quote: is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So, like on the call that I had with Mike just now, the seller callback script, he just went for the jugular on it, which is fine because that's how the script is designed.
There's a lot of
Uh,
people who say not to do that, to be
Right,
clear.
right, and I'm going to be one of those people that says not to do that, because what I do, and I have a really high success rate, conversion rate, when it comes to getting people on the phone. Is I get excited if I actually have somebody who answers the phone and they say hello, and then I can identify that I've got the right person. Hey, I've won. There's a micro victory right there. So now I got to chill out and not get too excited, because they're going to know if I'm getting too excited, because it will come out in my tonality and over the phone, and then people trip out on that like I'm a salesperson. And I'm actually a consultant and advisor, someone who's looking out for the best interest for them and their family. So I want to really, really dig deep and listen.
I
And
like that.
then I use a Ford. It's called the Ford method. I don't know if you can see it up here, but the Ford method, if you stick to that, they're going to love you. And at the end of your conversation, you're going to have an appointment waiting for you because they're going to want to meet you.
Let's
So
talk about that. Go over those because you're really good at this, and
yeah.
you actually taught me this.
So Ford is your when I'm talking to him, I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, tell me a little bit about your family. Why'd you guys even move to the area? What brought you to that neighborhood?" So I'm talking about family. Perfect. So is that close to your work? What do you do for work? Occupation. I want to make sure the guy's working. I mean,
Oh, side note: most people are drawn to whatever occupation that matches their personality type. So if you're looking for their disc, if they're in sales, they're going to be an I,
there
right?
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's secret sauce right there that Mike just said is you guys get trained up to where you even know the smallest identifiers like salesperson high D, you know,
I.
um, or I'm well anyways. But yeah, just saying
Roy's
hey,
a D. Roy's a D.
yeah, all the way.
in the
That's
in the loving
loving.
sound
Yeah,
of that
we're
term. Yeah.
talking in the personality profile way. Very good.
Dominant. Right.
Right, right, very dominant. That's why I'm a good coach. But hey, and then we go to recreation and recreation. So, what do you guys do for fun? I mean, what is it around your neighborhood that maybe after I help you sell the house, because I'm assuming it's sale. After I help you sell the house, I can tell all the potential buyers that the fun things, the recreation, the activities around that neighborhood that get you excited. And then what is that you do like to do for fun? And I'm going to be taking notes, because that's going to help me in my future conversations with them to show them that I actually care. All right, and that's why I'm asking them about just life, and then destination. So, Mike, when I help you sell your home, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Well, why? And then can I help you with that?
Well, and
It's not,
I do
and
have
it's
to
not,
say, Roy, you're a master of building rapport. I mean, I've heard it time and time again on the phone. It's pretty dang impressive.
well,
I,
the reason why, Mike, and I got this from Jim Rohn, is just be naturally curious. And you know it, I know it. When you can get someone talking about themselves and the things that they enjoy, or just life in general, they're going to actually create and gain an affinity for you.
which
Because
which which is a great homework assignment for everybody. The best book I've ever read on that, I've read it half a dozen times, is How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it
great
gives
book,
you the in-depth keys to really asking these specific questions, being sincere about them. It's how I got my wife. She had no chance, you know. But yeah, that's an excellent book for winning friends and influencing people, which is ultimately the goal.
Hey guys, we got a question, Mike, and somebody was asking how many attempts do we make on a
Ooh,
contact or a lead,
yeah. All right. So I pulled up some stats for that. Thanks.
and then
So
how often, frequency.
yeah. So personally, it's going to depend on your timing, what you block out as far as time is concerned. The goal is to call these leads within 5 minutes, the response time. So if you can, I mean, obviously the system will send you an email with their phone number, with all the information. You can log into the app. You can check your new leads. If you're in between, appointments, try to make the call as fast as you can. If you got someone to make the call, that's even better because then they have no excuse for it. But I pulled up some stats on InsideSales.com. It says, let's see. I don't want to just read the whole thing, but I will. The average rep's performance between 1.7 and 2.1 attempts before they give up. However, even the bare minimum number of 6 attempts is rarely enough. InsideSales.com's own internal research with Dr. James Oldroyd, sounds official, former research fellow at MIT with data analysis company, yada yada, says 8 to 12 attempts over 10 to 14-day period is the optimal strategy to maximize the value of every lead. So, we always say 8 to 12 attempts, with the goal being the first one within the first 5 minutes and then filling out the form. That's a more important stat, in my opinion,
That's a
on
great metric. Yeah,
the response time, especially if they're buyer leads. Because if they're buyer leads, I mean, they're just surfing all over that internet, right? They're trying to find what they're trying to find. They're usually a little further down the process. A seller lead looking for their home value. You'll have a subset of them that's low hanging fruit that's now business, but the fortune is definitely going to be in that follow up. And for me, it's all about permission-based marketing. So when I get them on the phone, our next steps are going to be based on them giving me the permission to do so, right?
yeah. I'm always asking for permission. And there's one thing that earlier when you'd asked me my rhythm in the mornings and whatnot, and I brought up how all the other leads were being hammered. And just so you guys know, Mike, he had brought it to surface that the seller and buyer leads, they're really actually exclusive to you, since they did register on your site. So when I said tons of other agents are calling them, Mike was right that, yeah, I was referring to the expired. So I don't want to leave that. I just didn't want to leave that back there and have anybody confused. So that the seller, the home values, and the buyer leads are coming right into your funnel and nobody else's funnel because that's where they registered. But we can't keep them from registering on other systems. But just so that way what that means.
Yeah, that's a great point. And my experience with FISBO's expireds, and straight up calling out of the phone book was real huge rejection laden grinding type,
That's why you
so
hire an ISA to do it.
no. That's
Yeah,
why I got into direct response so that they would come to
right.
me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I
Right.
had people slam
Sure.
doors on my face. I mean, it was just like,
Yeah. It
is this what I
hurts.
really want to be doing with my life?
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
found this, and they come to me, and then I'm now the authority, like, oh, you were asking me a question. You want to know what your home's worth. Guess what?
Well,
I can help you with that.
that type of
Right?
rejection, it builds a huge amount of call reluctance. I mean, I know because I suffered from it. You get punched in the face 20 times in the morning, and you're just really just trying to create a living. That's hard to, do the next day and then the next day and then the next day. So these internet leads, when you're talking to these folks, it's a good conversation, and I know there may be some of you out there that saying, well, some of the leads aren't right or whatever it is, but
Well, let
again,
me
for
tell you.
me,
Go
real
ahead.
quick, I get excited again when I have somebody on the phone when they identify themselves as the homeowner. That's a micro victory, okay? But I still get excited when I have a human being on the phone with me. Why? Because I can still ask discovery questions. I can still create rapport, which I always normally do. And if they hang up on me, perfect. Thank you very much. So I get on to the next person.
Oh no, if they
But
hang up, I'd always call them right back. Hey, we seem to have gotten disconnected. I'm
you're
not
that
joking.
guy. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
that guy. But I don't.
like I was saying, are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months, or was it going to be longer?
Yeah. I typically don't factor that into my rhythm, but the fact is when they identify themselves as a bad number, and I want to go over this with you guys because I know there's a few of you out there that are experiencing some bad numbers, and maybe some people that aren't being so nice to you, and you just All I say is, hey, as I was just following up as a courtesy, as a follow-up call, I apologize for interrupting your day. But hey, since I do have you on the phone right now, are you a homeowner or have you been thinking about buying in the next 12 months? Because I'd really love to be helpful to you and your family. Now, no one's going to be really, and my track record, nobody's mean to me after I say that. Okay. And they're typically like, no, no, I don't. I'm like, okay, well, I still have you on the phone. One last question. Do you know anybody? Have you overheard anybody talking about it that maybe they might want to sell or buy? And funny thing is, I've had like several people say, oh, you know what? Actually, I was just talking to the guy down the street when we were taking out our trash, and yeah, he's looking to sell. Perfect. What's his address? What's his name? You know?
Correct.
So it's just
Get
second
yourself a lead.
level. Yeah, second
And on
level.
top of that, it's a lead that you can use through inference because you can say, oh, Betty the neighbor sent me.
That's what I'm saying, you know.
Right.
So and so don't give up, guys, when they say no or wrong number or how'd you get this or whatever, because that's gonna in your mind it's gonna affect you. Like, oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't be calling these people anymore because I'm getting rejected. But guess what? They're people, you're people. Just have good conversations and communicate with them what your purpose is. And if you do it sincerely instead of salesy, you'll have a better outcome. I promise you. Promise you.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, I've never had one that said, oh, yeah, Mike, I recall filling out your home evaluation form on the internet. Like, none of them have
One
ever
out of
said that.
10, yeah. I
None of them
mean,
have ever said that to me. So,
I've had a couple. I have,
so,
you know.
okay, fair enough.
And that's what you're calling the low hanging fruit, though.
Yeah, but my
Okay.
point is, you're always going to have objection. There always is going to
Okay.
be an objection. They're not expecting the call, right? They weren't expecting somebody who's a salesperson in their mind reaching out to them. And so you have to be able to overcome that. And the best way to do that is to be prepared. And so what I would suggest is this buyer callback script. It's probably a little bit more in depth and that would be the one that I would study first because it still has setting a listing appointment on there as far as the call to action. I would take and handwrite this out 3 times, and I would do the same with the seller callback script. I would take and handwrite that out 3 times, and then I would just role play the heck out of it so that you're comfortable, and then get on the phone with these people if you're not utilizing some type of ISA service, which a lot of you are through different platforms that
I
you're
want
on.
to piggyback on that, though. I've been digging into the scripts and whatnot, and those are great basic scripts to get started with. And if you go to your circle prospecting script, I know we're not focusing on circle prospecting, but page 3 and 4 are nurture questions, nurture criteria questions, and they're great questions. So while you're doing your seller and buyer script training, print out these nurture questions because they're talking about motivation, time frame, willing to meet, contact info. It goes over the meat and potatoes, you know, seller directed follow-ups, all different types of stuff that will peel back more layers of the onion, you know. So like I was talking about the Ford, you know, family, occupation, recreation, destination. Uh, uh, when you can nail all of this stuff down and internalize it, like these nurture criteria questions, like me, it's just natural. Mike and I could probably go and call 100 people and never looked at a script because we've internalized them. You
But I
know,
prefer to have it next to me
it's
because if
good,
they throw
yeah,
me off guard, it's like a little
right,
security blanket. I'm
right.
snuggled
And
up
that's
with it.
that's the thing is I was gonna say though is that these are designed to give you a path, you know, and then you're the expert in your market, so you should be interjecting things into your conversation that are relevant to your demographics, you know.
Well,
So go ahead.
and one more thing I want to mention, and then I'm probably out of good value to add for this particular session, is the definition of a good lead, right? So what defines a good lead? In my mind, it's somebody who's looking to make a move in the next 12 months or less, right? That is the decision maker, the property owner that you have good contact information for, that gives you the permission to follow back up with them. That's a great lead, right? So when you're calling these people, keep that in mind. You're just trying to build a pipeline and database. Now, a lot of agents send out mailers. They'll send them out to a whole neighborhood, a whole city. You know, they'll send them out all over the place. But if you have other marketing materials that you like to utilize, if you just marketed to the people who meet that criteria that I just specified, that already know who you are, have talked to you, are the decision maker, are moving in the next 12 months or less, and gave you their permission to follow up with them, those are the people to focus your time, effort, energy, any kind of marketing that you do, any kind of flyers that you might send on. And what I would do if somebody's moving in 6 or 12 months is I would have a specific game plan of content to send them every month or every 2 weeks, in order to continue to stay in their mailbox or in their inbox or in their voicemail or in their text message, so that they think of selling, they think of me. Let's talk
Yeah,
about what
guys.
else you got up back on the board there. If there's anything you
Okay,
want to go over,
sure,
because I kind of
for sure.
hijacked some of it.
No, you're good, man. And what Mike was talking about, guys, is as soon as you contact these leads, it's all about following up consumption wise. Giving them more and more pieces to consume, whether it's text messages, voicemails, emails with blogs, or even mailing them a tear sheet, text messaging them your blog post link. Because everybody's on their phones nowadays. You can grab the blog post and select a bunch of leads and throw it in a text and say, hey, check out my blog, give me some feedback. Now you've got built more of an audience,
Oh,
postcards, all that stuff.
feature alert, we got a tool coming that'll do that for you, based on whether or
Boom.
not they're a buyer or seller. It'll send them the blog content that's for buyer, blog content that's for seller, depending on how you categorize it when you create the blog, and both. So you could do, buyer, seller, or both. So it'll
Yeah.
just send that out to that segment of prospects in your database, and that should be done here by the end of the month. So, yep,
Rockstar stuff, rockstar
yep,
stuff.
yep. One of
And it's,
many things coming down the pipe.
yeah, it'll make you definitely an authority in your market. Now, yeah, so on the back here, I was just going to talk about a couple of things. A lot of the agents that I engage with are unsure about how to even rebuttal. Okay, when someone gives them an objection, they fold. Like, sorry, bye, gotta go, see ya. I'm never gonna call you
Yeah,
again.
I don't want to
And
make you angry because that might adversely affect business,
hey, yeah, guys,
which
check it out. Vet
their
them
business
out.
you don't have in the first place.
Yeah, vet them out if you have to. It's okay. Get on to the next call. Don't become married to a specific prospect or lead. If somebody is going to create issues for you up front, that's probably an indicator of how the rest of the relationship is going to go. Mike taught me that. Hey, vet them out quick. If they're complaining over a text message or something, see ya. Don't want to be what is it? Bye, Felicia, right? So, yeah. But anyways, I wanted to work on a real basic rebuttal that a lot of it works in sales, okay, and it's an old rebuttal sequence. It's the 3 F's, okay: feel, felt, found. It doesn't matter what objection I get. So if I was calling Mike, I'm like, hey Mike, this is Roy with Keller Williams Real Estate. Just reason for my call is you requested a home evaluation, and I'm just getting back with you on that. Now, are you looking to move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Oh, possibly. How did you get my phone number?
Oh, well, actually, I got it from online on one of our websites. You must have went ahead and requested a valuation on your home, but I just wanted to see if I could be helpful. Give me a good objection, just anything.
Oh, God. Let's see. Well, I didn't think anybody'd be calling me. I really didn't want to be bothered, and I didn't want to bother anybody.
Okay, perfect. So now, hey Mike, I know how you feel. In fact, I have had 10 calls where those folks felt the same exact way. But when they found out that I was just calling them to be helpful and seeing if I could actually help them net more profit when they go to sell their home, they actually allowed me to pop by and visit with them. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just wanting to reach out to you and let you know that I'm here to help. I'm actually just a higher level customer service guy that can help you sell houses.
Love
you
it.
know and that's the thing. It really, in life, it doesn't matter. Let's say Mike says, I don't want to go to Mexican food today, Roy, for lunch. Mike, I know how you feel. Actually, I felt that way yesterday, but when I found out that the
It
place
was
down the
Taco
street is,
Tuesday.
hey, yo, we're going, baby. I
Right.
mean, it feel, felt, found. If you guys look it up, YouTube it, you'll be amazed on how that can shift the paradigm of a conversation when somebody's about to hang up on you.
Or gives you
Okay?
an objection.
Yeah. And then one of the things that I found is a very disarming question when it comes to these online leads, especially the home values, is if I can identify that it is the homeowner. Have I identified if it's an investment property or if they live in the house? No, I haven't. So that's one of the questions I asked them. Say, hey, let me ask you real quick. Is this an investment property or do you live in the house? That's not a sales question. It's just a discovery question. And based on how they answer, is based on how I'm going to respond. So if they say, oh, well, we live in the house, oh, perfect. So do you have a sense of urgency? You know, do you have like a timeline that you're trying to reach, or were you just, you know, trying to see what the house was worth, you know, uh, and go that route? Um,
I like that. In my market, I was like, oh, that wouldn't work, but actually it would because I would just say, do you live here full time or is it a vacation home?
Right. And then if they say, well, it's an investment property, then I'm going to say, well, wonderful. How many more do you have that I can help you sell? You know, so guys, you know, it's the onion, and just keep on peeling back layers and layers and layers. And the more you can engage with your prospects and make them feel important, and discover what type of personality they are, and feed to that. You know, S and C, maybe we need to mail them something, you know, so they can think about it and feel it in their hands and things like that. Just all these little facets and factors at the end of the conversation is where you want to be looking for that face to face. In the beginning of the conversation, you're going to sound like all of the other salespeople out there and real estate agents that people don't like. You know, so don't front load the appointment, back load it. Front load getting to know them, front load making the relationship, front load forward. Okay, because the reality of it, I hope, is that everybody's trying to create a long-term relationship with every single client, so that way you can rely on them for referrals, and you can rely on them to mention your name if they overhear somebody talking about real estate at the grocery line. It's happened to me before when I did loans. It was weird, you know,
I
but
love
it
it.
was, you know, but it was a great indicator that I was servicing my clients well.
That would have been
When
helpful information for me when I was doing this because I was just like bang, 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 bang. But I was always relying on that heavy flow of lead gen, you know?
right, and that's the thing. The feedback I hear is that you know, oh, I heard from my agent one time. They put the sign in my yard. I never heard from them again. You know, and
Hmm.
don't be that agent. Don't be the AFA. Don't be the average agent. Be the agent that's not an agent to them. They're actually calling you their friend. You know,
Love it.
I mean, I don't know. If there's probably a few of you on this call that have received calls from me when I was, you know, helping with the sales of Money Tree, and we've become friends. You know, I mean, it's great, and that's the thing is how you'd said, Mike, building that rapport. And you know, I've been fortunate enough to be here long enough to where I've built great rapport with some of the masterminds and some of the guys using our system, and now we're all friends. You know, so that's how it is with my real estate business as well. You know, after the sell, hey, calling them up, see how you can still see how people are doing, you know, and set yourself apart. The scripting works really, really well when you complement it with other follow-up items. Uh, I'm
Absolutely.
I'm a big, huge advocate on handwritten thank you cards. You know, that's just one of my things. People love it though. They love me because of it. It's just weird. It's
Yeah.
old
So you
school.
hang up and you give them a handwritten thank you card.
Done. Yep.
Super
Immediately.
classy. Super
while
classy.
while my while my mind is still on it, and I can actually put in something that has to do with the conversation we had. You know, good luck with Jimmy's football game this weekend. Whatever. You know,
Yep.
and then as a prospector though, that allows me to call them back again, because now I can call them back and say, hey, I just wanted to call to make sure you got my card. They might have told me don't call me back for 30 days, don't call me back for 6 months, whatever it is. Perfect, thank you. I'll do that, but I'm going to send you a card. I'm going to follow up to make sure you got it. So it's just another way for me to be in their ear. Consumption.
Love it. Hey man, let's jump off. We're out of time.
All
Do
right,
we want to
everybody.
talk about what we're going to do next week? Do we want to
Um,
try to open this up for some live role playing?
yeah, we
We
want
can
to
make
do
that
that.
decision after this, but
Yeah, I think we're going to be working on doing some live calls, some role playing. I'll open up my phone, have some folks give us a call, and we can, you know, do some live calls with some agents out there that are wanting to sharpen themselves up.
love it.
Yep. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10:30 Central Standard Time. If you guys need anything, never hesitate to give me a call. 417-313-0072 is my office number. Mike, thanks a lot for jumping in today. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right,
See you,
buddy.
everybody.
Everybody have a great day.
Bye.